Welcome back to another Millennial in Debt video. If you are new here, hit that subscription button below, turn on the notification bell so you get that every single time I upload a video. So we are going to be talking about the experience I have had since I have left the classroom 2 years ago. And we're going to really dump into whether or not I miss the classroom, things that I don't miss about the classroom, and whether or not I ever think that I will go back into the classroom. So let's get into it. So if you are new here, you may not be aware that I left the classroom 2 years ago, a little bit more than 2 years. So September 2021 was my last day in the classroom, and I pivoted into being a brand manager of marketing in a fintech company, and I was laid off from that company a year later. If you missed those updates, I will link those in the description box. Now, a lot of people have asked me whether I'm going to stick with full-time entrepreneurship, if I'm going to get another job in tech, if I'm going to get another job in marketing, or if I'm going to, go kind of like tuck my tail between my legs and go back into the classroom. I was a English teacher for 11 years at the high school level in New York City. I only worked in the high school level. I never taught, although I did teach like 5th to 7th grade summer school for 4 weeks for a charter school, and then I really learned that, one, I didn't really enjoy working in a charter school, and two, I absolutely did not enjoy middle school. High school was definitely the place for me. You know how there's some people that have a calling to do elementary school, to do nursing school, nursery school. High school was definitely my calling. I really enjoyed the curriculum. I really enjoyed the students. I worked in a total of 3 different schools. One was a Title I in Brooklyn. The other was, I don't even really know that area. And then the third, which is crazy, the third was in Astoria, Queens. All 3 were so different, but I enjoyed the diversity of all the different types of students I got to teach. For the most part, I taught, which is I taught all 4 grades essentially, but my real strength lied in 11th grade, where I taught there for 5 years, and I taught 9th grade for 5 years. And then, the other classes I taught 10th grade for like 2 years, and I taught 12th grade AP literature for 2 years. I really enjoyed that as well. It was kind of nice having 9th grade and then 12th grade, where you got to see them being, like the new kids on the block, the babies, really just learning and adjusting, and then teaching the kids that have gone through the entire 4 years of their career, or essentially 3 years of their high school career, and are ready to just skedaddle. So curriculum-wise, I enjoyed all the levels that I taught. 10th grade was probably my least favorite. For some reason, it was the least interesting curriculum to me. I don't know. And then at that point, 10th graders, sophomores, they're just sophomoric, right? That name fits perfectly for them. They kind of think they know everything. They are not the freshmen. They're not learning and navigating high school. And they're not seniors. So they're not super mature. They're not on their way out. They're not, over the kind of childish activities that sophomores tend to lean into. So 10th grade was definitely my least favorite. I also taught College Now for 12th grade, which was really exciting. And I got to partner with Kingsborough, which is a college in New York, a city college in New York. So I really enjoyed the diverse aspect of my career in the classroom. So that was one thing I absolutely enjoyed. Something that I did not enjoy was absolutely parent-teacher conferences. I don't know why, and I know a lot of educators are just like, yeah, it's not that bad. And I used to tell my students all the time, like, if you make me have to contact your parents, or if you make your parents have to contact me or come into school and have a meeting, that's a problem. That's a problem, right? So I always and then the fact is, in New York, if you did parent-teacher conference, I don't know how it is in other states, you would work essentially from 7 a.m. or 8 a.m., whenever your school day started, to 8 p.m. So you would have a 12-hour day and then have to be back the next day at 8 a.m. And again, New York would do 2 days. So you would have an evening one. So you would work from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. for a parent teacher. And then the next day they would do a half a day for students. So they'd get out like maybe 11 or 12. And you'd have to do a 12 to 3. So it just was a long, draining day, and I just did not enjoy it. Something that I really did enjoy about being in the classroom, or that I missed tremendously about being in the classroom, is really seeing the light bulb go off when students are like struggling or don't understand something, or it's a new concept, a new idea, something they really just, it is giving them a difficult time. And then we work together and we figure it out, and that light bulb goes off. That was one of my absolute favorite moments in the classroom, because it really shows you how this generation, I am absolutely pro Gen Z, it really shows you how this generation problem solves, and how they don't just, say F it, which I feel like sometimes as a definite millennial, you see my name, I feel like sometimes we could just be like, we're going to either pivot, or we're not going to deal with it, or we're going to do something else. Gen Z kind of leans into the discomfort until they figure out a solution or a way to get the problem solved. And it's really fascinating and amazing watching them do that. So whenever I would see, that light bulb come on, or them figuring out how to maneuver a challenge, it would be really exciting to watch and be a part of. And another thing that I absolutely disliked and do not miss about the classroom is grading. It is grading, especially for my people who are in humanities, so English, history, and we see our colleagues in math or science who were just scanning their exams through the Scantron. English teachers do not often get to use a Scantron. Sometimes we do. Sometimes we'll do like a multiple choice something, but there's always a written component, right? There's always a written aspect where we're going to have to grade essays and paragraphs, and it just would take so long, especially because I really liked to comment and provide feedback, and I would do multiple versions and iterations of the same writing piece over and over and over, because I really wanted them to understand, especially for my AP literature and for my freshmen who were just learning how to do, argumentative writing and persuasive writing and all these things. So it's just like, I want you to understand the concept. So we're going to do this over and over and over again until that light bulb goes off. So I'm going to have to read this same essay over and over and over again until you get it. So I really, truly, absolutely hated grading things. I would always look at the math teachers who would just like, not all levels of math would just throw something through a Scantron, but I was very jealous. Definitely really wish I was leaning more. But you know what? I didn't really enjoy math and science as a student, and I feel like I had the ability to have way more fun in the classroom being a humanities, being an English teacher. So I guess that's like the give and take, where we're having so much fun, really great discussions and arguments and projects. And then I have to just grade 300 essays 4 times. So give and take, balance, wonderful. Something else that I really loved and enjoyed, especially in the last 5 years of my career, was incorporating students' interests and incorporating their art forms. So I taught at a performing arts school in the last 5 years of my teaching career. I think there's a hair on my lip. So the students had majors. So they were dance, film, theater, instrumental, vocal, and I always forget one. I'm sorry. It was 6 majors. By the time I edit this, I will remember the last major. I'm so sorry. So I did a lot of inquiry-based and project-based learning in that particular school. And so we would always do a really big project, sometimes an essay as well, but always a really big culminating project for every unit that we did. And we typically did about 5 or 6 units a year. So it was always really fun to think of ways, especially as times changed and different things, and really having more of a culturally responsive unit and curriculum and lesson plan. So one of like the most amazing ones is when we did Greek mythology, which when I first got there, I was like, I don't even like Greek mythology, which now I love. And I was like, this is so boring. I don't care about Oedipus the king. I don't care about like all of this mythology. And then when I really leaned into, their fine arts was the other one, all their like really amazing majors, we had some really great projects. I might have some footage of some of those projects. I don't, we'll see. But we got some really great projects. And so I love that. And just like seeing kids do interpretive dances for things or create these amazing sculptures for things. And it was just like, that was always amazing to see their minds work in an English classroom, incorporating their art form and things that they love. Something that I absolutely hated was playing the game. And so that is for things like observations. That is for things like when you have superintendent visits. I always hated that. It always made me feel like an animal in a farm or a zoo or a fish in a fish tank. It was always just like someone coming in, getting a microscopic view of what it is that you do on this really grand, big scale, and not taking the time to dive deep, just only doing surface level, which I understand why it's like that. And I always got really great reviews, and I, was like ranked top 11% of teachers in the state. So it was like, I wasn't doing badly. I was doing amazing during these observations, but I hated having to prepare a very specific way so that they would see all the things like Danielson framework. When I get my hands on Danielson, when I find her, ugh. So that particular part of teaching just wasn't pleasant. And that's really in any career. You're going to have to play the game some way, somehow to kind of fit in and do well and make sure you keep your job. So that is something I absolutely don't miss. That's probably the thing I miss the least. Probably the thing I never want to experience again, is having to play that particular game, because it didn't really serve anybody. It served the higher ups, but it didn't serve me. It didn't serve the kids, right? We were all putting on a show. Even the kids knew when people were coming to visit, like they had to act a certain way. We're going to do a certain thing. And just, it was fake. And I didn't like it. Didn't enjoy it. And as for going back into the classroom, I never say never about anything. Anything could happen. And one of the great things about the Department of Education in New York is that when you do leave, especially if you leave on, good footing, I should say, you can return within 5 years and still keep your tenure. So I was a tenured teacher, and even after the 5 years, you can still return and keep your seniority. So I would still, like, if I returned in 10 years, I would still be an 11th year teacher. So I wouldn't be like starting at 0. I wouldn't be tenured. I'd have to regain tenure again, which is fine. So it's always there. And one of my assistant principals, when I was leaving, and I like would meet up with her for dinner, she would tell me that I'm really young, not really young, but compared to her, she would say I'm really young because she's like getting ready to retire. She would tell me that I'm really young and that I should go and experience other things because I've been a teacher, or I was a teacher my whole life. So I graduated from college and went straight into being a teacher. So I had no other career. And she would tell me that teaching is always going to be there. She's like, schools are always going to be there. Students are always going to be there. There's always going to be, a school for you to go teach in. So go and experience and live. And whatever happens, I could always come back into the classroom. So I appreciate her saying that. And that really gives me a lot of strength on tough entrepreneur days, knowing that teaching's always going to be there. My credentials, you can never, and I'm paid the $102,000 in student loans, so you can never really take away my credentials. So for right now, I am not going back into the classroom. I don't plan on going back into the classroom. I loved the experiences that I loved. I disliked the experiences that I disliked, and I'm very happy that I got the opportunity to be a teacher. I don't think teachers get enough credit or pay for what they do. So that is where we're at today. And I could change my mind tomorrow. We don't know. And we'll see an update then. But thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.